Welcome to the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast.
What a humdinger of a show!
Jumpy, beep, beep!
Booty-O's! They make sure you ain't booty!
I got the gift of gab and the gift of jab, and I'll put that lazy eye right back to work.
I'm not a bad guy. I'm not a good guy. I'm the guy.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast. The wrestling podcast to review Monday Night Raw, NXT Takeover, the end of the beginning. That seems so huge and over-encumbering and all that other good stuff and godlike. Of course, talking of godlike, it's Turbo Tony here, the host of this show every single week. That is the second week in a row that I've equated myself to a higher being, and so should you. Anyway, of course, I hope you're all doing very well this week. I would normally have my partner in crime, Matt Marsander, with me here, but unfortunately he's running a little bit late. He will be with us as soon as he can in this bumper episode of the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast. But of course, let's get those plugs out of the way. If you do want to interact with us, the best way of doing so is our Facebook page, facebook.com/Let's Talk Wrestling podcast. You can also tweet us at TalkWrestlePod. You can also send us any private emails or audio questions to the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast at gmail.com. All of that is in the description below or on the graphics right in front of you. Can't be any other better way of finding all that juicy information. On the show for you this week, we do have the news, the fan feedback with your questions from last week's videos. Of course, we've got the Sanctuary negativity, which we do have another delightful thing to complain about this week. A little bit of trivia for Matt when he arrives. We've got the NXT Takeover, the End review. We're also going to review Raw. And you may be thinking, geez, that's quite a lot to get through already. Well, we're not stopping there. We're giving our predictions for tonight's Money in the Bank pay-per-view. So we've got plenty to get into here. That's the reason why I couldn't wait for Matt. I had to start right now so we can get all this stuff out there and get it all out for you guys. That's got so much to get through. But before we get into that, of course, we still have a little bit of time for a little bit of procrastination, as we usually do here on this show. So there's one of the things you might have caught over the case of this week. I don't know if we shared it on our own Facebook page, but some of you guys might remember this guy. He's not been around for a very long time, but he goes by the name of Zach Gowen. You may remember him as the wrestler who wrestles with only one leg because he's had the other one amputated at a very young age. You may have remembered him in WWE getting thrown around like a rag doll by Brock Lesnar. You know, we're talking that long ago now. It was a while back. So yeah, he was in WWE for a while. He popped up around the feeds this week for his appearance on American Ninja Warrior. And I have to admit, this is kind of fusing two of my favorite things here. I'm a big fan of Ninja Warrior. Always have been. Don't know why. Just like it. And, of course, wrestling here with this show. He did good for himself, Zach. Yeah, he did really well. And in the end, I think he just ran out of steam. But when he has to do the work of his legs have to do the work of, like, you know, twice the work as a usual person has to do, that's quite an achievement of itself. So I think he did very well there. Good to see him around there. And it just tells me that I need to go back and watch some more Ninja Warrior because I do indeed love that show. Apart from that, though, a lot of other shitty stuff hit the news this week, which is quite unfortunate. Not just in wrestling. We'll get to that in a minute. But we had the Orlando shooting that happened at the over the course this week. My thoughts go out to the friends and family of those affected. But it didn't end there. We had the story of the kid at Disney, the 2-year-old who got pulled in by an alligator of all things, killed. These are just two of the more high-profile stories, but it seems like it's been a shitty week for this sort of stuff going down. I'm not going to get too much into a thing here. This is more in regards to the Orlando shooting. when this news comes out to Europeans by general, I'm just going to say that the response to over to us is a lot more different than the American response. Because immediately with the American response it's you get a lot of people defending the use of firearms. Whereas the difference is for us over here, we're in a situation where our police force aren't even armed. We very, very, very rarely have any shootings of any kind, especially not on the level of what happened in Orlando, which I think now is officially the biggest, loss of humanity in this instance, a mass shooting that the country has ever had. And it makes me go back and think of what happened in Australia, where they had a similar thing happen there, and they banned the guns. They went to a very similar ruling that we have here in Ireland and England and etc., which is just no one gets them at all, and it's very strict. And since then, gun violence has dropped dramatically. And I know there's a lot of people that have their own comebacks and own replies to it. But it's one of those things almost a little bit like general health care that we get over here in this country. And when we get a lot of people over in the States arguing about, well, it can't happen, it won't work. We're like, because I grew up in that situation where that stuff does work and it works completely fine. It's just so alien to me, right? So that's, my stance on it. I'm not going to get too much into it. This isn't a political show, but I just want to talk about it there. And it's just dreadful whenever these stories come up. But unless the laws change, there will be more shootings like this. And that's the unfortunate truth of this, that unfortunately, people tend to get in an uproar whenever these shootings happen. You had the Sandy Hook stuff. The kids were murdered and nothing changed then. I very much doubt that things will change now. And when nothing changes, the same thing happens. And that's the real tragedy right there, that it's almost the definition of insanity, is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. It's unfortunately, this is the bottom line of it here. So that is a little bit unfortunate. Enough procrastination. Quite sad there, really, to talk about that procrastination, really. But I feel like I had to be brought up because otherwise people just ask my thoughts on it anyway. Some very upsetting news this week in terms of wrestling. What broke yesterday, I was actually down by the beach with the family enjoying the sun when Matt sent me this message saying that Jerry Lawler has been suspended indefinitely for domestic abuse charges. He was arrested. He has since been released from jail, but he obviously is still suspended by WWE and is facing some serious hot water here. The last person that had the same issues with this, as you may remember, was Adam Rose. And the situation is slightly different here. And the reason why I say that is, the only reason I say that, and let me try and pick my words carefully here because it's a very delicate subject. But with Adam Rose, he was trying to fight WWE anyway regarding his drug suspension. So WWE kind of wanted him gone. He was asking questions they didn't want to answer, right? They were looking for a reason to can him, and he gave that reason. And they're not going back on that. He's done with WWE for the rest of his life. With Jerry Lawler, it's different in this situation where they're going to do the same thing, in my opinion. Like, they're going to can him depending on what happens here. I mean, technically, they kind of already have. But with them, they're going to feed it a lot more because I don't feel like with Rose, they wanted to get rid of him. With Jerry Lawler, they don't, right? Regardless of how long he had left, which I'm not sure he had that much longer. I'm sure they wanted him to bleed in the SmackDown, the SmackDown going live transition. They wanted him there as a recognizable voice, right? All these other tangibles. But in my opinion, he's done. I think it's very hard for you to come back when you've had these charges put on you, unless they're fully cleared in the court of law, which is going to take a very long time to do. Lawless, WWE can't take him back. Just they've set a precedence now anyway by what they did with Adam Rose. They can't double back on that. Which is, listen, from what we've heard, it's a lot of he said, she said stuff with the actual charges. I don't want to go into it too much because it seems like no one knows what actually happened, whether or not alcohol was involved, or I heard some rumors, apparently him trying to stop his fiancee, of which these charges have been filed in regards to his fiancee being intoxicated, and maybe one of them was trying to drive. I don't know. The story's fuzzy at best, and it seems like no one has a real clear picture on it. So I'm not going to look into it too far until we get a real good look at what the case is here and what the statements are, and then we can start fishing out some of the bullshit for the real truth of what happened here. But at the very least, there's one person I think who's going to gain tremendously from that. Unfortunately, when this happens, it does open up a window. And I think that's Corey Graves. I think Corey Graves has been doing great work in NXT for a very long time. He's probably, in my opinion, I mean, you guys know here, we've sung his praises. We think he's one of the better commentators they've got, period, across the entire company, let alone just in the minor leagues, right? So I think he's probably going to go up and fill that role. They might decide, fuck it, we'll just put JBL in there to do double duty. I think that's a horrendous idea. But I think it's you use it as an opportunity to sit young guy in, give him some time on SmackDown in this new situation, see how he does. Listen, if it doesn't work out, I mean, I'm not even going to say that it won't work out with Corey Graves. I'm so confident that it will. But if it doesn't, then you can replace him with a JBL down the line, right? It's I think it's time, right? It comes to a point you've got some guys at NXT in the ring that are down there doing their thing. They're ready to go to the main roster. You look outside the ring, Corey Graves is ready to go to the main roster. He's ready. He's been ready for a long time. In fact, he's better than a lot of them. And you know what? I'd like to see the back and forth between him and Mauro Ranallo, two very, very quick-witted guys. I think that's an interesting commentary team that we can look forward to right there. So Lawler is gone. And I don't expect... There is one way he can come back, where basically all the charges get dropped. This goes away quietly. And then WWE, after the storm is blown over, decide that they can bring him back and do some work. I think he's got much more of a chance, obviously, than Adam Rose was, just because of the prior situation and the fact that Lawler is probably very well liked by the company overall. Because of his history, right? He's been there for God knows how long now, decades on commentary. At the very least, that's not even counting his in-ring work, right? So it's an unfortunate story to come out, and I'm sure we'll hear more drags and dribbles of this news story as it continues to break. But until then, we have what we have, and that's where it is at the current time. Raw this week. Interesting. We're going to talk about the ratings. But the reason why we're going to talk about the ratings, I mean, I'm sure that you guys have known by now that the ratings for this week's Raw were pretty bad. They rivaled the NBA Finals, and the NBA Finals just upwards of 20 million viewers. It's got the Cleveland Cavaliers and Golden State Game 6. Big time basketball match right there. I'd understand why a lot of people are going to be watching it over Raw. In fact, if I were there, I probably would have watched it over Raw myself. Let's just be honest. So the reason I bring up above this is that we've brought this up a couple of times, Raw having bad viewers. I mean, I know at the final hour of this week's Raw, they dropped below 3 million viewers. Again, well below 3 million viewers, actually. But here's the thing. There was actually a news story that broke this week that an analyst appeared, I think it was on CNN. I can't be exactly sure. I don't get the American channels where I am. I'm going off of other people's word here. But this analyst was basically stating that WWE are in a state of mind at the moment where ratings currently mean so little to them because, in terms of their investment and growth. And they're still doing fantastically, and the ratings just don't mean anything to them at all in terms of how healthy they are as a company. And here's the thing. I want to explain this because he's right and wrong at the same time. And I don't want to go and, this guy is getting on CNN. He's an expert. He clearly knows about the financials far more than I do. So I could be talking out my ass here. But here's the thing. Right now, he's correct. The ratings don't matter as much at the moment because WWE still have plenty of years on their contract with USA. And USA aren't going to really care so much about the ratings now as they will do when it's come up time for the contract to expire. When that contract expires, then they're going to start having problems with these ratings. That's where issues are going to start propping up, because USA are going to come to them and say, look, you've been dropping viewers over this period of time. We're not going to give you X amount of dollars. You can try and fish around, which is what WWE tried to when their last TV deal with USA went up. And they got no response, by the way. People just didn't want to get involved in pro wrestling. So here's the deal with that. It may end up being a fact that when WWE goes to USA to renegotiate their TV deal, USA aren't going to give them the same amount of money they're getting now because they're not getting the same amount of viewers on WWE's side. So that may end up becoming more of an issue when that contract expires. Currently now, I agree, it's not as much of an issue. But when it comes time to negotiate, I'm sure USA are keeping tabs on these low weeks. And they're saying, look, we can't pay you what we were before because you're just not drawing enough viewers. And the network and all that other shit doesn't factor into their TV deal. USA does not give a shit how well the network's doing. Right? In fact, the better the network does, the more worried they probably will end up becoming. And a lot of people may say to me, well, let's say that happens. WWE just starts putting Raw on the network. Well, then you're shaving down that 3 million viewer base you have to 1.7 million viewers. That's almost a 50% cut. That ain't going to hang. That ain't going to work. They need that TV money, and they need to stay relevant, because staying on the network will not get them subscribers. They'll only lose more subscribers by being on the solely on the network. It's not viable currently. It may be in the future, not now. So that's the reason why I wanted to bring that up here, because, obviously we've got experts talking about it there. I wanted to give my own 2 cents on it there. And unfortunately, apparently I don't think you had anyone on that show to fire back at him and say, well, look at it this way. It was just one person going, well, they're doing great. They're doing fantastic. It doesn't matter about ratings, blah, 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 blah. So there's my 2 cents on it. So that's the news this week. As usual, I expect news to break before this podcast comes out. Myself and Matt have been so fucking annoyed because for the last 3 weeks, we have done a podcast, and the day after, well, the day like we release, but the stuff's already recorded and rendered by that point, a huge news story breaks, and then we have to catch it the week afterwards. But I'm just expecting it to happen. It's just the way things are. All the news stories break early on the Sunday. I know how it works. Fan feedback then. Let's get straight back into your questions. You guys left a bunch of humdinger questions for us this week. And before I get into them, I'm going to pour myself out some Pepsi. I will say right now, to any future people trying to do a podcast, don't take my lead. Do not drink Pepsi. It is not good for you, especially in the middle of a podcast. It will rip up your throat. I should be drinking water. But the reason I do it is that I need the energy boost towards the latter stages of the podcast, especially for a bumper edition like this one, where we're talking about a lot of stuff. And I'm talking about a lot of stuff solo at the moment. So, there we are. That'll do me for now. Let's get into this. MC Schwabo asks if we can do an NXT report card on Ty Dillinger, as he has a high level of in-ring talent, is getting better on the mic, and has amazing timing. What do we think? Now, we were planning, obviously, on speaking about this a little bit at the NXT Takeover review, which I know is very late, guys. I do understand. I actually went on holiday at the end of last week, so just didn't catch it at that point. So here's the thing with Ty Dillinger. People may be expecting me to say, well, he's all right, but he's not really a huge star like Samoa Joe or Finn Balor. So you don't really want to take time away from them to give to this guy. But here's the thing with Ty Dillinger. I'm with you with this one, MC Schwabo. I think the guy has been doing some absolutely stellar work as of late. I think he's been tearing it up in his own way. And I know that basically his entire gimmick at the moment requires him to job, which is a bit, unfortunate for him. He's managing to make this gimmick and his role look very good when he's not getting victories back to back. That is much harder than it is when you're winning week in, week out, and you're getting the rubber, you're getting the backing from the people backstage, from the right guys. It's easy to look good when you're winning tons of matches, right? But when you're losing a lot of them, and you're losing to people that clearly they've got more ideas for, but at sometimes you're overshadowing them. I think that's a big testament to Dillinger, and I do think that he's gotten a lot better. Very quickly, he's got a lot better here. You know what? Like, he's one of the guys he's a guy that I would want around. He's a guy I want to see. He's well over. Let's be honest, right? Ty Dillinger is absolutely over. That crowd are into him. They do enjoy his body of work, and they do enjoy the character. I wasn't entirely too sure when he debuted the Perfect 10 gimmick that this would be something that would, start to kick off and, really take off for the guy. But he's made something work of it. And it started to really resonate with the crowd. He's getting the sort of responses and the sort of feedback from the crowd that Apollo Crews wishes he could have at the moment. And that's that little bit of psychology that I think that Crews is missing. And that's that little kink in his overall armor that I think may end up being the undoing of Crews down the line. That's not a problem for Dillinger. Right, he's got that connection, and everyone's behind him. So here's the reasons why WWE probably aren't. I've said it before. I think it's because of his age. I'm sure some people will say to me, well, they pushed Batista when he was quite old. That is true. But let's face it, Ty Dillinger doesn't have the body or the friends that Batista has. That one of the other things I think is a problem for him as well is that he's not an indie darling, right? He's not one of these guys who can come in and work off of his own buzz like a Nakamura or a AJ Styles who, aren't young by any means. They're mid-30s, going around 40s, right? So they've got some miles on them like Dillinger does. But Dillinger doesn't have that. He doesn't have his own established fan base going in. So that's the reason why he's there. But I'm really high on him. I think everything they've done on the guy, he's managed to pull off with great aplomb. I think he's done some great work. My grade for him is a B+. And I think that's really good considering what he's been used as. I can't even remember the last time Ty Dillinger actually won a wrestling match. So that is really good stuff for him there. And he's one of those guys that I'm like, listen, a lot of guys are getting plucked up from NXT nowadays. I know you've got a few new guys coming in, but why not give this guy a look? Why not give this guy a high-profile match and see what you can do with it? Like a lengthy, high-profile match. Because obviously with the review going on later on, I'll give you a bit of a spoiler. I think he kind of stole the show against, was it Cien Almas that he went against? I think he actually overshadowed the new guy with his performance. So, quite interesting there anyway. Racist Fan Rocks asks, if Lesnar loses his match at UFC 200, how would we book him back into the WWE? Interesting question, this. I think it differs, personally. I think it differs on how he loses. I think if he loses on a lengthy fight that ends on points of which the majority was on the ground and not many, like Mark Hunt beat him by technical prowess rather than knockout ability, which, Mark Hunt, I don't expect him to do that. He's going to try and knock him out. But still, let's say that happens. I think you're good to keep him as he is because I think you can go on WWE and say, look, he lost, but he wasn't knocked out. He was barely hurt. You can even say he was robbed. You can do all that other stuff, right? If he gets handed out a nap, right, and he gets knocked clean out, that he's face down on the mat with his arse stinging out in the air, I think then you've got to change how you would bring this guy back into the fold. Because first of all, he's probably going to be injured for a while, so he ain't making SummerSlam. So you're looking at a more lengthy layout for him, and he hasn't been around in WWE anyway for a while. So what I would do, personally, because you still got to make Lesnar a huge commodity. He's being paid a shed loads of cash. So you still got to make him a proven commodity. You still got to make good on that money that you're spending for the guy. And he will still have box office appeal regardless of what happens in UFC. What I would do is I'd take one of your somewhat decent mid-card guys, maybe that is aging a little bit, maybe a Sheamus or something like that. And you get it. So his new thing is that he just fucking loves ragging on Lesnar, right? Every single week he comes out, calls him a scrub, says, well, look, he got knocked out like a bitch. Lesnar's fair game. Look, he's not even around. He doesn't want to show his face. and can let him come out with some of the most scathing promos you can on Brock Lesnar, almost to the point where people start thinking, oh my God, they're kind of burying Lesnar here. What the fuck's going on? But Lesnar makes no appearance. Doesn't come out for ages. I want this to go on for like 2 months. I don't want the guy to have a good 5 minutes every single week just to rag on Lesnar. Really say some heinous things. Get under his skin. Because the end game there is that when Lesnar comes back, Lesnar will anally fuck him. I mean, decimation. That's what I'm calling for here. He's going to throw him all around. He's going to get thrown to pillar to post enough that it's a statement. Now, you don't talk shit about me because when I decide to show up, I will fucking end you no matter what happened before. And I think that statement and that comeback will sit prettier in people's minds than what happened to Lesnar back in the UFC, added with that time that Lesnar's been out. That will help him on that front. So, yeah, that's what I would do. I think there's two different ways of him losing. And, of course, if Lesnar wins, then you just carry on about your day. And then he's doing great from then. He doesn't really need any tweaking from there on out. But that's how I would do it personally. Anthony Smash asks if we think we'll get more champions like Swagger when the brand split happens. This question was coming. I think you even asked this before, Anthony, but we couldn't get to it. Well, I'm getting to it now. Let me just take a quick drink before, sorry. Good stuff. Okay. My answer to this is if they split the belts, which it looks like they're doing, then yeah, I think it's going to happen eventually. I think they're going to use one of the brands to elevate some of the NXT talent. So you're going to start seeing maybe some guys with real potential get that title. I'm talking about maybe even a Kevin Owens, maybe an AJ Styles. And those guys aren't really the guys we're talking about, right? We're talking about guys that are mid-card for life. And, you know, they get that title because of just the dilution of the star power on the roster. So I don't think it will happen initially. I don't think it will happen, you know, even in the first year. But as time goes on and WWE starts regretting having that brand split, I think that's when you're going to start seeing some more of champions of the ilk of Swagger where they're mid-card for life. They clearly don't have much of a plan. They just strapped a title to and hoped it would do for the best. They're hoping that the belt can make the man, but the man makes the belt. And that's how always it should have been. You've got to make the guy a huge star before he takes that title. The title is the cherry on top. You know, you got to do the build-up first. You can't skip all the build-up, hand a guy a championship and have him be a star. It just doesn't work. It's proven. And, I mean, fuck it. Even look at The Miz, right? Miz won that championship. They tried to build him up as the next huge heel. Look where he is now. I mean, he's never going to touch that gold ever again. He's never going to be WWE champion again because they were hoping that being the world champion would solidify him. And it's not, because you've got to give him a real good push. You've got to give him a lengthy time of really elevating the guy, getting some big wins. The belt doesn't make the man. The man makes the belt. So there we are. Alex from World Wrestling Boom asks, if we were to have a 6-man tag match with the 3 UFC fighters and 3 WWE superstars, who would we pick for both teams? Interesting here. First of all, while this is an interesting question, just prefix this, that the match itself would absolutely fucking suck. For obvious reasons, I think even Alex would say that, you know, we're not expecting the match to be good. It's a fantasy question. But it would be pretty painful. Anyway, here's my thing here. I put Lesnar on the UFC team, especially as he's going there, because you could book it as Lesnar's going back to UFC, leading the charge with the UFC guys. If that was ever to happen, which it won't, but still. So I went with Lesnar, McGregor, and Rousey. You're looking at the 3 biggest names in UFC ever. And I'm not talking about careers and huge, you know, wins and anything like that. I'm talking about drawing power, let's be honest. Lesnar, huge for the company. Rousey, again. McGregor, breaking records for them. So that would make it the biggest match. You've got those 3 big draws right there. And then you've got to put 3 guys across the ring that you would have to make it so people would legitimately think they might have a chance in fighting them, which is a lot harder than you would initially think. I went with Samoa Joe to go in People might say, well, you've got Lesnar there, why not Undertaker? No, I'd much rather. I think Samoa Joe, to me, he comes off like a bigger, badder guy nowadays than Undertaker does. So I'm going with Joe. Just to say as well that I would pay mucho dollars for a big-time match between Brock Lesnar and Samoa Joe down the line. Oh, goodness, that's some good shit right there. I like to snort that shit like cocaine, like a line, even though I don't do that shit. But I would snort that match like I was. So there you are. So Samoa Joe, I went with Seth Rollins. It's kind of the McGregor of WWE if you look at it in some twisted, weird way. And I went with Charlotte. There's not really any girls out there that you could say will be able to match up with Rousey. They would all get hurt. But Charlotte's coming across like the big champion at the moment, so why not? But yeah, there's my picks. And yeah, like I said, if it were to happen, sure, it would make loads of money for them. It will never happen, though, obviously. I don't know why I'm coming out of this. Alex, you know it won't. You're asking this as a fantasy question. I know that's exactly what you're doing. Mario Tia has a couple of questions for us here. Loving the long emails, Mario. Thank you very much. It's providing me some good reading after an episode comes out. Great feedback from you. So we're going to answer your questions here. Firstly, he asks, who do we think would have benefited the most from ending the Undertaker's streak? Would it have been A, Orton with his legend killer gimmick, B, CM Punk, back in the time where Punk was rubbing Paul Bearer's ashes on himself, or C, the Wyatts, Bray Wyatt, obviously the leader of the Wyatt family? Here's my answer with that. I'm going to explain the other two, why I didn't pick them. First of all, CM Punk was already a big star. I mean, everyone here on this list would have benefited from ending the streak, sure, but CM Punk was already an established star. So the other two would have been made with that victory, right? So I'm not going with CM Punk. I think he was already fine. He was already doing great work. He was already a champion before, and I think he went into that. Was it afterwards? I think it was afterwards he was champion. No. He lost to The Rock on that Royal Rumble. So that was at the end of an over a year title run. He was fine, CM Punk. He was already on the brink of superstardom. I think he was doing okay. The other one here, Orton with his legend killer gimmick. Yeah, sure, it would have done great for him. But I get the feeling with Orton back at those times anyway, that the general consensus was that he was going to be a big star. He was basically shoehorned in for greatness, or shoehorned, just placeholder for greatness, right? He seemed like he had the build, he had the athletic capability, and he had that extra little something there from his from that time. And the general feeling was almost like, well, not in the same measure, but now, like with Roman Reigns when he was in the Shield, people just knew that this was a guy that WWE would have a lot of stock in, and Orton was that guy. So they're the two that I'm not picking. The guy I'm picking is Bray Wyatt. I think Bray Wyatt would, especially where he is now, I think Bray Wyatt would have really, really taken to that victory, and he would almost, it's like it's almost handing over Taker's mantle, right? It's kind of taking his place in a degree of speaking. He could have really taken that and just gone on a tear and been, very, very strong for a long time. I think with Vince wanting to make the most of that victory, I don't think he would have given up so much on Wyatt if he had had that victory. So, yeah, I think that Wyatt, if he had won against Undertaker, taking another drink now, if he had won against Taker and broken the streak, I think he would have been, he probably would have been WWE champion by now. I'm pretty sure he would have. He would have been one of their established stars. He would have been that dark character. I'm sure Taker probably would have got his win back, but I mean, at the end of the day, that doesn't matter. It's such a huge victory. But you look where Wyatt is now. He lost to Taker. Taker didn't even look like he was close to losing in that match with Wyatt, which was rushed because they were running out of time. And you look at Wyatt now, and things just aren't going very well for him. The injury, even before then, the whole Wyatt family was just taking loss after loss after loss. I think everyone in that stable would have very much have got a good run if Wyatt had been the person to end Taker's streak. But unfortunately, that's not where they went. They went with Lesnar, doing it at 30. maybe in that sense, well, no, I say maybe in that sense that Wyatt came a bit late. Do you know the strange thing with Wyatt? Wyatt has lost 2 WrestleManias back to back. He lost 30 and 31. And then at 32, he had that awful segment where basically he was laughed at by The Rock. WrestleManias just haven't gone well for him, shall we say. Imagine if you'd beaten Undertaker and gone on a tear like Undertaker did, how things could have been different, but still. Your other question here is, where do we think Alexa Bliss would fit in on the WWE main roster? So here's the thing with Alexa. So you're saying here, just go elaborating a little bit more on your question. You're saying right now that she's sort of stuck in the same situation that Tyler Breeze had in NXT. How would they book her with the call-up? Your idea here is to put her with Tyler Breeze, like mutual partners, not a couple, but mutual partners that manage one another, cheer each other on, are invested in each other's success, shall we say. So here we are. I'm going to explain this. This is my thoughts on it. Personally, when you say that Alexa Bliss is in the same situation that Tyler Breeze is in, Tyler Breeze was in main events at NXT, and he was around the title, around the title contention for a long while. And he was involved in some very impressive matches for NXT. He got a bit of buzz around him to the point where he started wrestling some very unique talent in Jushin Thunder Liger, etc. Alexa Bliss isn't on that level. Breeze was in a better position at NXT than Bliss currently is. And here's the worrying thing, because I'm with you. I'm a fan of Bliss. I like her. But I get the feeling that the people behind the scenes may have the assumption that she's reached the limit of her potential. And if that is mid-tier NXT, the future may not be as bright as what some fans think it will be for her. To a degree, she's one of those girls who's been in NXT for a very, very long time. She's been there so long, she's kind of stagnated a bit. I like the idea of Breeze, first of all, about if they were to bring her up. I do like the idea, but here's the thing with Breeze as well. He's kind of, I feel like, I get the general feeling that he's lucky at the moment to be getting airtime with Fandango at the moment. And I'm not even sure how long that's going to last. So if they brought up Bliss to pair up, maybe even pair up with a pair, make it a group of 3, whatever. More to your question, pairing up with Breeze, it's almost a little bit that it's like the chips have fallen already for Tyler Breeze, and he hasn't looked good for a while. So it might end up being a detriment to both parties on that front, that they actually get paired up together. So, I mean, we all know how the Summer Rae pair up went, and that's kind of what they were going with. I'm not sure that they would have any more added vested interest in Summer Rae being in that role than Summer Rae was. Oh, sorry, Alexa Bliss being in that role than Summer Rae was. So I'm not entirely sold on it, just because I don't think WWE would care enough for it. I like the idea. In fact, I kind of liked Summer Rae being with Tyler Breeze down the line. But I think it's one of those things where you're seeing a lot of girls now overtake her. You're seeing she's had to sit and watch while the 4 horsewomen have done their thing. Asuka came in, went straight over her. And rightly so, because she is better than Alexa Bliss is at the moment, as much as I do like her. Nia Jax has come in. She's friends with the right people, etc., etc. She is slowly improving. So she's overtaken Alexa Bliss on the totem pole. And Alexa Bliss has never moved up, right? She's always been in the same spot. That is worrying, because normally when you stay in the same spot for too long, that doesn't spell well for, normally the only way to go then is down. You don't have enough momentum to go up. I know she's split from, Murphy and Blake, or Blake and Murphy, whatever. But still, you're not seeing her featured as much. And that's worrying on that front. I know she comes on and wins a match every now and then, but you don't ever hear any rumblings of, okay, maybe Alexa's ready for an NXT TakeOver match. So I don't think the future is as bright as what some people think, which I know is a bit of a shame. And I'm sorry to say it to you here, Mario, because you seem like a big fan. And I like her as well, but it just doesn't seem to be going her way. And she doesn't have a lot of momentum, which is a bit of a shame. So, guys, that is our fan feedback. If you guys would like to leave any questions, you can do so in the comment section below or on our various social media outlets that we've got there that I explained at the start, and obviously in the description, all that good stuff. You've got plenty of ways to get in contact with us, and you all know it by now. In fact, we're getting more questions through different of our different avenues than ever before, so that's awesome, and thank you very much for doing that. All right, I was going to do some of my little extra segments here, but as Matt's not here, and I need him for the majority of those, I'm going to go straight into the NXT TakeOver review here before I take a small break and take my drink, and we'll get straight into the NXT review. So the reason why we didn't do a solo recording for this, as we would normally do, is that we just didn't have time. I actually, last week I went to Killarney, for a weekend holiday. It was very fun, but didn't have time to watch and review the show for our own channel. So we weren't able to put that out here, but better late than never. So we're going to put it out there for you now and give our general thoughts on it. So we won't take too long, of course, not as long as we would normally take. So take over the end of the beginning. So they're taking this as like a big chapter. To me, it made it seem a lot that they were making it to be like the end of Finn Balor's reign in NXT, but they kind of went back on that the night after. He will be wrestling Shinsuke Nakamura for those that are interested. But yeah, still, this is almost like the end of a chapter for some of these guys, and then they're moving on to different things. First match of the night, Andrade Cien Almas versus Ty Dillinger. And as I said earlier on the show, I will say here, I liked Cien Almas. I thought he was good. And, I think he's got a good future in front of him. But here's the thing. I think Ty Dillinger stole the show. And he did more here. And he's more over than his role is expected to be. So he kind of took the sheen a little bit off of Almas's debut here. I still think he had a good debut, but it's not nearly as hugely impacting as maybe they had hoped it was, because Dillinger stole the show. And fair play to him for doing so. You can only, they tell you go out there, steal the show, whatever role you're in, role that you're in, and he did that. So fair play. Cien Almas does get the victory in a decent opener. Although I will say that his finisher looks as if it's like a running dick to the face. So that doesn't sit entirely well with me. As much as I'm not exactly the biggest fan of the penis in the facial region. So I know it does look quite devastating and everything, but that's it. Maybe I'm just, me, guys. I've got a dirty mind. I get myself in these situations. I let it run wild. And that's where the Hulk Hogan penis jokes come from, etc., etc. Anyway, moving on. The Revival versus American Alpha for the NXT Tag Team Championships. A match so good that I think it's going to be in the running for Match of the Year at the end of this year. I think this is the best tag team match that NXT has ever had. That's, they've had a lot of tag teams come and go and do their thing. I think you're looking at two teams playing their roles so superbly, wrestling out of their skin in this match. These guys tore the house down. You've got American Alpha, clearly hugely talented. I don't think I have to explain that to anyone. You can just look at these guys and you know how innately talented these guys are. And they've got the charisma to back it. They walk with a bit of swagger, and that's why people like them. And then you've got the Revival, who to me are the quintessential heel tag team. They're everything that a tag team should be if they're a heel team. They play dirty. They wrestle, to a style akin to a heel team where it's not exactly flashy. They're not out there to wow people, right? They're there to hit hard and cut off the ring and do good tag team wrestling and let the faces do all the shock and awe. That's their job. I thought this match was so good. Guys, I think this is match of the night. And that's with a lot of very good matches on the card. I think it was absolutely superb what these guys went out there and did. It's a good match when I was kicking myself for not being able to watch it earlier because it was that good. Just for some fantastic tag team wrestling here. And you got to give props to the Revival and to American Alpha because a lot of people are talking about the Divas Revolution, about the coming out of women's wrestling. Tag team wrestling's been in a bit of a shitter for a while, let's be honest. With these two teams, they've been tearing it up against each other. They've been doing some great work. In this match, in a big shocking finish here, which I think did help the overall match, the Revival hit their finish. And I think it's the Shatter Machine is their finish. And they pin Jason Jordan and they win. They become the first ever 2-time NXT Tag Team Champions. Big stuff here. Big deal. And the more I thought about that finish, as shocked as I was like, wow, this is the first title defense on a takeover for American Alpha and they've lost the belts. That's they're getting the Sami Zayn treatment here. The more I thought about it, the more it kind of makes sense with American Alpha. These guys are just too good to be down there. They have to go up. They are too good. They're almost too good for their own good because they're going to go up to a main roster, and we all know it's anything can happen up there, no matter how good you are. But they've clearly got onto something here. They've managed to capture lightning in a bottle. And they are really doing some fantastic work together. Yeah, I think it's time. You have to. Now is the transition period. You start putting them up. You start making good on these guys. You start building a really solid tag team division on that main roster. And American Alpha are that young heel team that a lot of people are going to want to see succeed, and they're going to want to see them wrestle. That's the most important thing. I think the Revival are going to do great work. Some people aren't fans of theirs. And I don't understand why, because I feel a very good role. A role that unfortunately hasn't been filled by, in a while at least. That quintessential heel team. If you've got a heel team, they don't wrestle heel that often nowadays. So having the Revival do their thing, and I think it's fantastic. But the reason why they're going to stick around NXT a little bit longer is they've just got a little bit less of a buzz. I think that's all it is. And I think that maybe they've got a bit of Bailey syndrome where people behind the scenes know that no matter what team they put up against the Revival will end up taking care of them and they'll do good work. And they can bleed in new teams fairly well. So, yeah, fantastic from these guys. A great match. Easily the best match of the week for me in terms of watching. I got to tell you guys, if I were to give this sole match a rating alone, it would be watch over and over again. Fantastic stuff. Really was. All right, so my notes have gone away from me here. The next match. Shinsuke Nakamura versus Austin Aries. So Nakamura's second match second takeover match for both these guys, actually. Sorry. Here's the thing with Austin Aries. He's kind of been overshadowed a little bit by Nakamura, so he's kind of gone under the radar, but still. I think this is another great match. I don't think it was as good as the match before, but still very, very good. Aries, I thought here was the guy putting down a marker. I thought he was putting down a marker, trying to tell people like myself who call him a little bit overrated, trying to show everyone what he can do and why he gets the following that he gets and gets the respect that he gets. And he's got this reputation. I think he did fantastically in this match. Probably, I mean, I'm not exactly, I can't exactly go through and tell you, I'm a huge fan of Austin Aries matches and I know exactly who he wrestled 5 years ago in this building. I'm not. But this is probably one of the better matches I've seen him wrestle. And I've only seen him wrestle a couple of times on TNA. So, yeah, to me, it's a little bit like, okay, I kind of get it a little bit now, right? I kind of understand what the buzz is a little bit. But Nakamura ends up getting the victory with a big Kinshasa. So good stuff. Another good match. And, I think Aries is fine. I still think he's a tad a bit overrated personally, because Nakamura, he almost gets as much plaudits as Nakamura, but I think Nakamura is one of those talents that goes just a little bit further. But I still think both these guys are fantastic. Asuka versus Nia Jax in the women's match. I would probably say this is probably the weakest match on the entire card. I don't think, personally, it was very good. I think it was okay at most. Which, when you put it up against a lot of the other women's matches that NXT has boasted, yeah, it's kind of like the ugly stepchild of all those matches. I think Nia Jax is better than most people think she is, but she's still not great. I don't think she's ready for moments like these. And Asuka, I think she is a great wrestler, and she's had some great matches. Don't think this was one of her better nights. I don't think these two just meshed very well. I think they were trying to tell a story, and I don't think it got there, personally. But still, Asuka does retain the championship, which it makes Nia Jax seem now, for all the dominance that she has, she just can't win the big one. And I think they're teasing a Bayley Asuka 2, and then Bayley's going up to the main roster, which makes me wonder why they didn't do that here, because it would have made a lot of sense with the end, right? NXT Takeover, the end of Bayley's time at NXT. That would have been quite poignant, especially if they build it up like that, like I win the title or I go sort of thing. I think that could have been quite good, and that's a match there I think they could play off of very well. The main event, Samoa Joe versus Finn Balor. A good match. I think that all the matches that these guys have had against each other, I mean, there's 4 of them now on 4 Takeover specials. I think all of them have been good. I don't think any of them have stolen the show by any means, but I think they've all been very, very good. I don't think there's any of these matches will be remembered in the annals of time, but they're still very entertaining and still very worthy of its spot. And there's some sort of respect you have to give to these guys for being able to consistently put on very good matches when the time calls for it. Especially as they've wrestled each other so often nowadays. So there's the thing there, you know. I think that's I think they did the best of what they could do, and I think it was for the cage match. I think they made good use of it. I still think that the tag team match earlier on kind of stole everything from there. Joe wins the match with the top rope muscle buster, which looks dirty as all hell, which I imagine is the objective. But Balor, yeah, I think they've already confirmed that he's going to be wrestling Nakamura at the next Takeover special. And yeah, that's really the bottom line there. That's he's going to be wrestling Nakamura, and then I think that's how it plays out. I think that's when it's done for him, and he goes up onto the main roster. That's how I see it going down, anyway. So overall, a great show again from NXT. Never a disappointment. They always put on a fantastic show, a very solid show. It's one of the weird ones, though. I think that the first half was better than the second half, which normally isn't the case. But I think that's still overall very, very good. Well worth your time. Every single NXT show, Takeover show that they do is always impressive. And there's always at least one match you can look at and be like, yes, that's why I watch wrestling right there. That is stellar stuff. And you know what? These NXT Takeover shows, they're a sure thing in a wrestling world where we very rarely get sure things. And I think we should treasure that. All right, no Matt currently yet. Stay with me here. I'm going to go check to see if I've got any response from him. Maybe I sent him the wrong link and he's been desperately trying to get to us. I hope you guys are having a great week. No, I did. I have messaged him. He's running very late, unfortunately, which is a bit of a shame. He's been a busy bee at his work, which is hence why he's been not exactly ready yet. Which kind of puts me in a bit of an awkward position here because I'm supposed to be doing trivia involving him and doing my Sanctuary Negativity. So this just allows me more time to rage about random stuff. So let's do that. Tony's Sanctuary Negativity. I'm doing it. So fuck it. We'll do it live. God damn it. Yes. Because reasons. My thing here for my Sanctuary of Negativity is clickbait articles. Now, what I mean by these, you must have seen them. You must have seen them. That you go through Facebook, you notice there that you go through, seeing, your update from your girlfriend or your boyfriend, whatever, and you see, oh, my dad's put up a picture of blah, 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 blah. And then you may see like a page that you might have liked just offhand the other day, or, years ago or whatever, or a celebrity that you might have liked. And suddenly you're getting clickbait articles along the lines of, oh, well, do you want to see this list of famous celebrity foot fetishes? You'll never guess what happened when this couple proposed. Oh, my goodness. And I'm like, you're right. I'll never guess what that couple did when he proposed. And you know what? I'm pretty fucking happy with that. I don't know what happened to him. I mean, clearly what happens is that you get a lot of these celebrity pages that eventually they, I don't know if they get a message or they get, told that, oh, we can make a lot of money here if we just turn it basically into a big sharing page where we share all these clickbait articles. You get lots of money. Fantastic. Sell your soul. So any celebrity that's done that, fuck you and your ad-filled clickbait, and I lose respect for anyone that turns their page into that. I really do. But you see it so often nowadays. It seems like a lot of the stuff it's almost like it's a business thing now. Like it's actually a career, maybe, for some of these guys, that they get people onto their pages and suddenly you start seeing a lot of this shit creeping up. And, yeah. And now you've even seen Kayfabe News get in on the act. So, yeah, there was that, that they've been making some funny references towards the clickbait articles. Oh, God, guys, how I despise these fucking Facebook pages. Next time you see them, tell them to fuck off and tell them Tony told you to. Yeah. They annoy the fuck out of me. I know they annoy the fuck out of all of you too. All right then, guys, that's my Sanctuary of Negativity. Matt's not even here for the trivia. I don't know whether I should give it to you guys now or wait until I can actually, give him this trivia. Because otherwise it's just nobody's super sexy, amazingly difficult, but intense, awesome challenge. But I kind of have to get this stuff done. All right then, let's give you the trivia. I can't wait any longer. Let's get this stuff done. So it is the fans' super sexy, amazingly difficult, but intense, awesome challenge. And this week we are doing Money in the Bank trivia. That's right, Money in the Bank trivia. It's time. I've got 5 questions for you here, and they're all Money in the Bank related. Obviously, with the pay-per-view being tonight, it's themed, and you can thank me for that later. So 5 questions, 5 answers. Let's do this. Number 1. Who are the only 2 people to cash in Money in the Bank and fail to win the championship? So I lied. There's actually 6 points on this, but, go figure. Sue me if you're that annoyed. I'll do it once again, then I'll give you the answer. You can always pause the video. Who are the only 2 people to cash in Money in the Bank and fail to win the championship? Okay. So the answers here are Damien Sandow and John Cena. I think you guys would have got that quite easily. I think you would have got that because I think just general knowledge by now. If you remember, Damien Sandow lost his in a match to John Cena. John Cena announced that he would cash it in at Raw 1000, and then that ended in DQ because I think the Big Show got involved. That was also the same event that CM Punk turned heel. Number 2, which wrestling event held the very first Money in the Bank ladder match? I'm not talking about the actual themed pay-per-view, but what wrestling event first had the Money in the Bank ladder match? I'll give you a couple of seconds to either pause if you need more time. But the answer for that one is WrestleMania 21. And if you remember, the whole story goes, they've been telling it recently, that Chris Jericho was the one that applied that idea to Eric Bischoff, and then that shit got done. Bada bing. And there we are. We've got Money in the Bank. I actually thought when I did this research that happened around about WrestleMania 25. I didn't think it was 21. It's weird to think that it's over 10 years that the Money in the Bank has been around. That's kind of crazy to me. Makes me feel very old, but still, there we are. Number 3. Who is the only wrestler to have won 2 Money in the Bank matches? 2 Money in the Bank matches. Who is the only person to have won 2 of them? No one has, apart from this guy. And who is he? I'll tell you who he is. It's CM Punk. That's right. CM Punk won back-to-back, actually. And cashed in both times for the World Heavyweight Championship. So there's the idea for that. Number 4. Apart from John Cena, who was the other superstar to give prior notice to him cashing in the contract for his title match? All the others, apart from John Cena and this guy, gave no notice. They cashed in on the fly and won or lost in Damien Sandow's case. But who was the other guy who gave notice and then obviously went on to win? That's your little hint. All right. The answer is Rob Van Dam. If you remember, he told everyone, I'm going to cash it in at Extreme Rules, number 2. He did. He beat John Cena and won the championship. And then later on ended up birthing the ECW brand and all that hot garbage that followed after that. Number 5. Who is the only man to cash in successfully but to have the result overturned, leaving him open to cash in the month later to win the championship anyway? Who is the only man to cash in successfully but then have the result voided? So he got his briefcase back and the title had to go back to the champion. What happened? Who was it? Let me know. Here comes the answer. The answer, of course, is Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan, if you remember, he cashed in against, I think, Mark Henry. And when he beat Mark Henry, Teddy Long ended up saying, well, Mark Henry wasn't medically cleared to compete when that match started, so the actual cash-in is voided. And then they did that storyline of Big Show winning the championship from Mark Henry, and then Bryan cashing in on him, even though Big Show was trying to help Bryan win the title with the cash-in. So that was kind of the beginning of the Bryan heel turn, and the rest is history for Bryan, shall we say? All right, then. So that is all the trivia. I have to start with the Raw review. I hope Matt joins me eventually. This is becoming more of a solo podcast than I initially thought, so thanks for sticking in with me, guys. I'm not exactly used to doing solo podcasts. It'll take a lot out of me, but I hope you have enjoyed the episode so far. I do know the show is better with Matt around, but still. All right, the Raw review. Last week, then, the go-home show before Money in the Bank, which is looking like, I have to admit, guys, a fairly decent card. I have to admit. I mean, the shows to build it up, some have been okay. There was one absolutely god-awful one, but still. This one emanated from New Orleans, the home place of WrestleMania 30, Bourbon Street, all that good stuff. They start off the show with a tribute to the victims of the Orlando shooting. TNA actually did a similar thing, so good stuff on all fronts there. It's nice of them to do that. New Day end up kicking off the show. And as it's a fatal four-way tag match at the pay-per-view, I'm immediately expecting the sort of promo that you guys know that I hate. Essentially, all the teams come out, they say one thing, and then it moves on to the next team. Everyone knows that I hate those style of promos, and they get done all the time, especially in WWE. So, they mock Kofi's Chef Curry shoes, which I have to admit do look awful. I'm not exactly a shoe connoisseur of the latest NBA trends, but yeah, I wouldn't buy them. And I'd buy pretty much anything if it was cheap. So that's there you are. Enzo and Cass coming out. They say that they say what we've all been thinking of, that the New Day's unicorn horns are too phallic for their own good. What? It seems like the rules have changed for Enzo and Cass. I'm not even sure that other people are allowed to make as many dick jokes as they. I mean, they were talking about cheese under the flap of your dick, right? And now they're talking about unicorn penises. They are allowed to push the marker a little bit here, which I'm glad with, but it's just but still. Cass also gets in on the act, bashing Kofi's shoes. In fact, here it was a bit weird that Cass actually did all the talking between him and Enzo. He should not be speaking more than Enzo does. I will say that right there. There is something, though, about having Cass speaking with and without Enzo being there. You can tell with Enzo being around that Cass is a lot more relaxed. You know, the spotlight isn't more on him because Enzo, right? He is Enzo and he does what Enzo does Enzo things. So he's not nearly as bad when he's on his own. When he's on his own, you can tell that the spotlight gets to him. He doesn't quite know how to get about, how to do his thing. But with Enzo around, he could do fine. But still, the better speaker out of the two of them is Enzo. Just the bottom line. He says that last night, Francesca spent a sensual night of lovemaking with Enzo. I'm calling it now. It's very likely that Enzo fucked that trombone. It's very likely that he fucked it hard. I'm talking he grabbed Francesca and he fucked it hard like that. That's what he did. Enzo isn't the kind of guy who goes in slow. He ain't got time for that. In fact, he's kind of overactive, right? He'd be just in there. Yeah, like that. Yeah. So, still, for that lovely image, only in wrestling can that moment happen, for better or worse. And let's say, it'd still be the better sex-based story than Kane and Katie Vick. So, still, there we are. The Vaudevillains come out, and Aiden English does a bit of singing for us. He is actually pretty good, so no problem there. Gallows and Anderson come out and quickly inject a vital dose of legitimacy to the situation. Of course, they drop some local heat, saying that winning the titles at Money in the Bank will be just as easy as scoring a touchdown against the New Orleans Saints. That got a lot of heat. I'm not into my football, but if the New Orleans Saints are anything like the New Orleans Pelicans, then they are quite trash. There you go. How about that, New Orleans? Do you want to come at me? No? Well, still. It's good to see something different open the show and give the tag titles some spotlight. A lot of the times what they'll do is they'll open up the show with Rollins or, they'll do like the main storyline. Here they kind of chose to focus here on the tag team match. And, the tag team match should be pretty good. And for me yapping on about how I hate these segments where guys keep constantly coming in and just don't stop, I actually like the segment. I actually thought it was okay. So there we are. I'm not hard to please. A dick joke here and there, and I'm okay, really. So there we are. New Day, Enzo and Cass versus the Vaudevillains, Gallows and Anderson. Well, this is a good match. Good match to get us started. Some good action here. Gallows and Anderson, they pick up the victory with the Magic Killer. And, this whetted my appetite for the title match. I would have to say, if their job here was to get me interested in the title match and thinking that it could be quite a decent occasion, then they got me on board for that. So, fair play. Mission accomplished. We get another life lesson from Bob Backlund. He wants to know how Darren Young will celebrate when he wins matches. He wonders how Backlund had saved so much money in his life, and fuck this shit. No, I'm not going to talk about it. It's shit. It's awful, guys. Matt ranted about it last week. I don't think I could do it justice by ranting about it again. It's awful. It's awkward. It's not funny. I have heard, I think it was even Mario in the email who said that, I know that we wanted it to be more on the lines of the Donald Trump social commentary, but as they're kind of in with Trump, they can't really do that. I still think they could. Like, I don't get what you mean and stuff like that. It's just, listen, if this was their idea all along because they never even thought of going down that route, then I just don't know why they did this, because it's so awful. I literally can't watch it. It's so bad. And when they eventually get on TV, it's going to be like the Shining Stars. They have 1 week, Vince realizes, oh Christ, this is fucking awful, and just decides not to do it over and over again, and just push them to the side of the Shining Stars. And he'd be like, what was I thinking in that drug-induced haze down in Tijuana? And then you realize what's going on. So, still. Shane speaks to Steph backstage. Shane wants to take a brand. He says, well, I'll take SmackDown, you can take Raw, but Stephanie's like, no, I want both of them. Fuck off. Two nicer words. Corporate Kane shows up, and he wants a shot at taking hold of a brand. He is the latest GM or executive, shall we say, to throw his hat into the ring. Steph remembers that, for one, he's psychotic and he's a demon. Kane hands over his resume with a forward letter from The Undertaker, who I have to say is surprisingly professional down there in Death Valley. From a lot of the time, from ferrying souls to the underworld, he's got a very professional look on his letters. I have to give him props for that, at least. I can imagine him down there in the void between this world and the next, in the space-time continuum, where he rests between his WrestleMania matches, of course, and whenever Brock Lesnar's around. He's just, doing his taxes, signing reference sheets, just, doing what a dead man has to do. Everyone's got to do paperwork. I know it's not, awe-inspiring or anything along those lines, but the shit still needs to be done. And clearly, he got to it, and he did it for his brother there, so he's a good brother. Good dead man. I like what you did there. Ryder is talking some shit about Sheamus to a bunch of randoms backstage. The Irishman shows up, talks a little bit of smack, and Ryder scampers away. Bleh, essentially. We see the Shining Stars in a green screen promo. They talk up Puerto Rico, saying how great it is. And I've said this before. Sure. Except for the fact that you've got tons of homeless people and the hospitals can barely afford to keep their electricity on for their vital operations and all that. Still awkward for anyone that knows what's going on in that region. You can tell Vince has absolutely 100% given up. He's like, no, didn't like what I saw. It's not working, and now they've been relegated to at the very beginning, at the very least, they were being given vignettes. Now they're not even been given like very long green screen promos. So they're done. They're really fucked, to be honest. Titus O'Neil. Before I get into that, let's have another drink. I'm going to start foaming at the mouth at the do that to the HD set. They use it for, just fucking everything nowadays. Pay-per-views, all the fucking shit. So, but yeah, still. Rusev locks in the accolade on the ramp and rubs Titus's face on the championship, screaming, "Is this what you want? Is this what you want?" It was a good old heel beatdown. You can't beat a good old heel beatdown every so often. And their end game with this is to try and build up Rusev, not Titus. So I don't have a problem with that. Titus pretty much shot himself in the arm of ever getting a shot at something bigger than what he's currently in when he decided to grab Vince McMahon's arm. So, yeah. Ambrose Asylum time. Bearing in mind that Stephanie apparently cancelled this show, they did reveal later on that Shane reinstated it. So, sure, why not? He says that Money in the Bank seems like a second WrestleMania this year. It is a better card than WrestleMania, in my opinion, in some instances, but still. Let's just hope that Money in the Bank doesn't end with everyone booing like WrestleMania did, So, although it probably will, because Roman Reigns will win that match. Reigns and Rollins come out. Ambrose asks Rollins, how's your knee holding up? And Rollins says, I'm completely fine. Reigns tries to speak, but he's immediately cut off by the crowd booing his ass, as usual. Then they start reminiscing about some of the finer times in the Shield. Rollins going, I do remember some good times, like facing the Wyatts and Evolution, sending Batista on his way to Hollywood, which got the Bootista chance, which was quite funny. Ronda says, though, the best time he had when he was in the Shield was when he betrayed them and wrapped a steel chair around them. I actually quite liked how they built that lineup. They start manning up to each other with Dean's questions, which I'm just thinking to myself, okay, cool. They're getting nose to nose here, building up the match. Would have been nice if they'd been doing that for the whole month rather than just doing this the week before, but okay. Rollins says that Reigns beat Ambrose, Sheamus, and Triple H, but he just can't beat Rollins because it's not possible. Reigns says they'll call him the guy because he beat Rollins at Money in the Bank. Except nobody will call him that, whether or not he wins or loses that match. So, sure. Ambrose sells the match hard and ponders, well, you know what I could do? I could just win the Money in the Bank contract and cash it in that night and win the belt. Rollins, they end up getting to a scrap here at the end. Ambrose hits the dirty deed, so on Reigns. He stands tall above both of them. So they're really adding in this other avenue here, what they might go down. But Ambrose is the one that wins the Money in the Bank contract and then cashes it in. I know a lot of people have been talking about a possible Shield triple threat match, but I'll get into my thoughts about that later. I don't think this is the right place to do it. In terms of the actual segment, no, I think it was okay. I think it helped the fact that it's finally Rollins and Reigns talking to each other rather than having an entire week where they did nothing. This was something, so therefore it was better. But I think it sold the match okay and started really getting on board for that. Ambrose is backstage. Stephanie's speaking to him and says, "Oh well, I'm not too happy with your show being reinstated, so I'm going to put you in a match with Chris Jericho, the same Chris Jericho that Ambrose was wrestling for a very long time and just finished wrestling at Extreme Rules." But okay, sure. Paige versus Charlotte is next. Natalya and Becky are at ringside talking over actually calling the match. And what I mean by that is that Cole was actually calling the match but got drowned out by Natalya and Becky talking to each other. And I'm like, you've got 5 people on commentary. There's something very fucking wrong with that. That is absolutely way too much. Way too much. They need to go back to a 2-man booth. Jesus. I know with the extra hour, maybe they need that extra guy just to fill out the time, but still. A touch offbeat, but there was a pinfall here where Paige's shoulder was so far up that there shouldn't have been a count at all, let alone a 2 count. Then there was a dodgy-ass rampage that Paige gives here. She actually gets the win after Dana Brooke tried to help by throwing the champion back into the ring. I think we've a player 2 has entered the game.
Did I really take so long to get here that you're now going on about Paige versus Charlotte?
Yeah, man. I'm halfway through the Raw review. I've already done the trivia and everything without you.
You've smashed through everything.
Yeah. I'm like an hour and 20 into the show, man.
I don't know why I bothered. Should have just stayed at work.
Oh, well, if you want to go back to work, sure. 20 past 11. How are you doing anyway, Matt?
Exhausted.
You okay? Well, we've got like half of Raw and then the predictions to go, so.
Oh, and you talked about Takeover and everything. Oh, I missed all the good stuff.
You did. Which is unfortunate, but what happened? Just stuff at work?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a shame.
Stuff is not during open hours. Oh.
You see what he does for you guys, right? At 20 past 11. This is the time that we're doing is he gets online anyway. I call that dedication, goddammit.
I try.
Yeah, you did it. Now, what you can do, Matt, is you can provide me with a good... what I've been doing here has been rambling about nonsensical stuff while taking drinks.
Okay.
That would normally be... When you're talking about stuff, normally I would...
you have that opportunity just to take a break and drink it in.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to take this as an opportunity just to kind of cut the Raw review in half, take a drink, and then we can just chat about random shit, and then we can carry on. Is there anything that you wanted to go over before we carry on? Anything that you did want to talk about?
No.
Okay.
If anything, I'm quite glad because I know that you've gone past the worst segment of Raw.
Which was?
Don't spend money. These are my only clothes.
Oh, yeah.
and I think I was pretty vocal on my thoughts of those segments last week.
I didn't even rant on it because I was like, well, I can't do it as much justice as you did last week.
Yeah,
So I'm
not going to draw the same comparison because my other half's in the room and she slapped me for drawing such comparison. Such the animal lover.
Drowning an animal, that's it, yeah.
Yeah.
It would be a bit awkward.
A little bit.
Just a little bit. We talked all about the Jerry Lawler stuff, though, and all that unfortunate business. But, yeah. So, Matt, I know you're only catching us here at the last, quarter of the show, but fuck it, let's do it anyway. So Paige and Natalia, I talked a little bit about that here. Matt, do you remember this match being botchy as fuck?
I don't remember this match at all.
It was quite botchy.
Other than the fact is, Natalia has cats, and if anyone didn't know that, she has cats, and you should follow them on Instagram, because everyone fucking does, apparently.
How many... I actually am genuinely interested now to see how many followers her cats have on Instagram.
I don't want to know, and I am not doing that research for you.
I would be genuinely depressed to know if her cat has more followers on Instagram than we do subscribers of this show.
I'm pretty sure they do.
Oh god, well, they are much cuter than us, I imagine. I don't know. Maybe her cats are ugly as shit. I have no clue. I really don't care enough to go searching them out. So there we are. Do you know the funny thing about this match? Before we carry on and talk about this. You know that you've come online when we've been doing this sometimes, when you've just been a little bit late and I've started and stuff and I've been getting things ready.
Yeah.
And you've come on and you scared the shit out of me. That scared me so much that I've actually had my mouse hovered over the chat, so I knew exactly when you'd come in. So you wouldn't get me again.
I've left an everlasting impression. And it feels good.
You've caused me mental harm, damn you. You've done things to me. All right. So, Paige gets the victory here. Very quick match. Didn't like it. It was poor. Botchy as fuck, but still.
Hey, remember when Paige was a serious competitor?
Yeah. Well, she should get a title shot now, surely. She should be the champion.
Actually, yeah. That's how this works, isn't it? So she should be back in the main running. Oh,
technically, yeah. She should be number one contender. She should get a title match. But no, they won't do that. They won't do that, man.
What do you mean, tradition? You don't get it when you beat the champ.
There's a consistency.
It wasn't even anything like that. Like, she got distracted. It's all Dana's fault. So that's why.
Mm-hmm. Matt, have you been talking to some of the writers recently? You got it in there, have you?
Maybe.
Well, they're listening a lot more to you than they would ever to Cody Rhodes, which is a bit of a shame, but still.
That's it. I mean, to be fair, it was quite hard. They were still chasing talent as well. But...
Talking of the women, yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, dear. Renee Young speaks to Cesaro backstage. Sami Zayn shows up and he wants to hijack the interview regarding their match. And Cesaro's quite pissed off. He's like, "Why are you
none of it?"
Yeah, he's like, "Why are you acting like a child here? You're not on my level. You've got so much more to prove." I'm like, "Did you go heel at some point, Cesaro? You're being a bit of a dick right here." But still, maybe Cesaro's just...
I didn't mind it, though. I liked it. No, the fact it wasn't... I think it's one of those sort of really awkward situations that if it's like Cesaro and Sami Zayn, like, someone's got to, like, steer the course towards a bit heely.
Yeah, maybe they're just playing off the fact they do have history and stuff, and along those lines. I'm just playing it up for amusement more than anything like that. Charlotte is pissed at Dana for her loss. The champ says that Dana failed up into being her assistant, and she warns her about Money in the Bank, saying there is no room for her in Charlotte's history if they end up losing. They're teasing a little bit of dissension here, but that ain't happening. We've all seen this before.
The worst part, I couldn't give two fucks about this current women's division whole escapade. I don't even know who's in the title match this Sunday.
That's because there is none.
Oh, is there not one?
It's a tag team match between Dana and Charlotte and Becky and Natalia, which kind of just happened out of nowhere. But Matt, they need to waste time until SummerSlam, and that's when Sasha's coming back.
I fucking hope so.
But still, the whole point is that they're wasting time. But
Yeah, it shouldn't be.
Yeah,
we should have Bayley. Damn it.
Yeah.
And then we can have the 4 horsewomen fatal 4-way match at SummerSlam.
Now you're thinking of stuff that might get me interested in, Matt. Tasty. But I still think they've still got that Sasha Charlotte match pinned down. I think this is just a stopgap until then, which is a bit of a shame because it's not that entertaining. Sheamus versus Ryder. A quick match this.
I forgot this happened. Although I called it instantly.
What, straight away what would happen, yeah?
Yeah. It was sort of like, even still the moment the bell rung and I was like, and 3, 2, 1. Oh, he's beating him up. And 3, 2, 1. Here comes Cruz.
Yeah. You know what's funny though, Matt? It's like I was almost transported back to when Zack Ryder was the number 1 contender for the WWE Championship against Sheamus. Do you remember that?
Oh God. No.
Oh, time has changed. Well, not for Ryder, who's still pretty much in the same spot, but still. Yeah, you're exactly the same here. I thought actually at this point, Matt, that the show overall started losing a bit of momentum. And they started putting together some quick matches, thrown together transition segments. So you can kind of see where the show was starting to go here. And obviously, I talked at the start of the show, Matt, about the ratings issue for WWE and the fact that it was close to around this point where they started losing a lot of fans.
Yeah,
maybe they started tuning into the NBA match that was on. Yeah. Yeah, it's the finals, but it's...
I don't know, I was just listening to, like, when you told me about it, I was like, sports.
Yeah. Basically, here's the thing with that. So, for some of our more UK-based fans, the NBA Finals was on the Monday that this went, but the thing is, Cleveland Cavaliers won that game, so now it goes on because it's like a best-of-7 series. But if obviously a Golden State had won, then they would have won 4 games and would have ended the series. So that's why it was so big, because it was an eliminator match. But they're going to have another match, and whoever wins out wins the title, basically.
Sport.
Because sports, yeah, feel the rush. Well, I like sports. Why? Just for your sake, Matt, I'm talking down sports. I fucking love sports.
I know.
I can't do them, but I like them.
I can appreciate.
Yeah. I've been watching fuck tons of football with the Euros, to be honest. I watched a Hungary and Austria game, and I'm like, why am I watching this? These aren't even 2 very good teams.
So it wasn't a good match then?
No, it wasn't. Although, I have to say, Matt, with Ronaldo missed a penalty against Austria, funny enough, talking about them. And he's had more shots than anyone else in the tournament and has 0 goals. And he missed a penalty today. His tears please me. They do. Anyway.
Suffering. Delicious.
So yeah, as you say, Matt, Cruz comes out for the save. Whoop-de-doo. I think Cruz and Corbin have had a fucking horrible first couple of months on the main roster. And I don't think this rivalry with Sheamus does anything different for Cruz, really. But
no, we were talking about this. It's like a really bad spot for these guys, especially when I think I mentioned this when we were talking about this during the week, is that like during Breaking Ground, they're like, yeah, Corbin's getting his call up, and he had a very similar way to Breeze when he got his. And then they made sure to show that Apollo Crews was crying because he was so happy and proud that he'd finally made it to the main roster. Look how happy he is. Look at him. Oh, we're not going to bother. He's not been on. When was the last pay-per-view he was on?
I don't think he wrestled the last one, did he? No.
Nope.
I don't. But even then, the fact is, I'm sure he has, but the fact is we can't remember it. That's a big problem right there.
In the same way that it is this Sunday, was it a pre-show?
Yeah. I actually think his match has been moved off the pre-show. I think it's on the main card now. I'm not sure, but regardless of that, it's not exactly high-profile shit he's doing at the moment.
No, that's it.
I mean, Corbin has been wrestling no one. I mean, we're going to get to Corbin in a minute, but Corbin's been wrestling absolutely fucking nobody but Dolph Ziggler since he debuted. And I'm like...
Pretty much, yeah.
I mean, he must be bored of it because the rest of us are, right? but still. Kane is speaking to Shane backstage. Kevin Owens turns up. He wants to speak to Stephanie, but she's not around because obviously Stephanie is his favourite McMahon. Why not? She's the prettiest one out of them, so there is that. Owens says that Del Rio only showed up to the arena 20 minutes ago, and he deems it unprofessional, despite the fact, Matt, that we've seen the Authority arrive and leave before and after the show.
Yeah.
So, you know, the amount of times we've seen them leave, you know, in the second hour of the show or arrive just before the main event and shit like that. I
was going to say, hell, like Shane's first night running, we saw McMahon leaving like 15 minutes into the show.
Yeah, the Raw after WrestleMania.
Yeah, that's it. It's like, nah.
Fuck it. I don't feel like doing it. You do it. It's fine. I'm going. So, yeah. WWE here do the annoying thing of making their bilingual talent speak their other language. I would like to shake them and say, why? I don't have a thing against other languages, but obviously you're speaking English as the predominant language. Why do you just... Oh, because we need to know that one of them's Mexican and one of them is from Canada.
To be fair, though, like they don't do it so much with Owens, but I quite liked this, considering it was just that whole sort of like, what... But as much as you're saying, like, oh, why do the bilingual people have to speak their other tongue sort of thing, like, Owens basically... like was your argument for that, because you were just like, why do they have to do it? And that's pretty much what Owens's whole spiel was. It's just sort of like, why is it always Spanish with you?
Yeah It's funny actually. Owens sometimes is the voice of like what some people are thinking, you know. But it's not so much this, like as you say there, Matt, it's not so much this segment, it's just in general with WWE that they get someone out there that has another language and it's like, well, we need to make you speak that. It's like, but why? Why does that make any sense?
Yeah.
I don't.
Look at Cesaro when he first debuted.
Yeah.
He speaks 5 languages. We must make him talk them all.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, why would you do that? Because clearly the crowd don't understand, therefore they're tuned out, right? It makes no sense. But still, it's one of those things that WWE just do for some reason, and you don't know why. You know, they just have to do it to show how worldwide they are or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, Kane puts a stop to that by making a team-building exercise in the form of a tag team match against the Lucha Dragons. If the Dragons win, they'll replace Owens and Del Rio. Shane likes it and puts a big green light on it. So put it out the door. That baby's fresh to go. And I'm like, I'm glad they just came up with this match here. Otherwise, they might have struggled to fill the time. That's the other thing with WWE logic, isn't it? It's like how they magically end the show at 3 hours every single week. But that's a kayfabe news article that I'm sure they've already done. Sami Zayn versus Cesaro. Good match, this, Matt. Good one, as you would expect. Not as good as the NXT matches, but still good with what the time they had.
Yeah, to be fair, I don't think we're going to get that sort of good again, not for a while.
No, not unless they're involved in the long storyline, and I don't see why they would. Zayn wins with what I can only call as pretty as all hell sunset flip pinfall.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a thing of beauty right there. To the point that they put it in slow motion. I'm like, that's the sort of move you need to put in slow motion. Beautiful. I'll tell you what, Matt, one thing I have to say, the mid-tier for WWE, they're killing it at the moment, are they not? They're putting on some great matches in the second hour of the show.
Well, the trouble is, I think they kind of have to, because at the moment, the mid-tier is the only tier.
Apart from 1 or 2 people at the top, and yeah.
Yeah, but Reigns and Rollins didn't have a match.
Oh, yeah, quite true.
Like, the main event and like this middle of the match, like middle of the show match, sorry, was all Money in the Bank related.
Yeah, so basically filling out the wrestling portion of the show right there.
Yeah.
But, you know, just in general, I've just been noticing it recently that they've just, since Owens and Zayn have come in, you've had Cesaro come back, you're having, you know, Jericho act in that role as well. You're seeing a lot of those mid-card guys really start putting on a show, and it's filling out these Raws a little bit better than when they weren't around, shall we say. So good stuff there. Okay, we've got the contract signing between John Cena and AJ Styles. The thing they were playing up with this one here is that, well, first of all, before I get into that, Cena drops that line again, that's this Money in the Bank may as well be another WrestleMania. WWE really want to get that point across. They are pushing this as if it's like the WrestleMania that Vince could have had if his roster hadn't been plagued by injuries, right? I'm sure he thinks of it that way. It's like, well, this is what it could have been. I could have had Rollins and Reigns, and I could have had Cena and Styles or whatever, like, you know, like that.
Like if only sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, think of the guys he had out around about that time for Mania. It still doesn't excuse for the fact the show was quite lackluster because it was his own choice to have Reigns win the title in a long show in a bad match. But still,
I'm still half tempted to go back and actually watch that match.
Oh yeah.
Well, I think it's probably because like the Mania match, because I was just keep thinking to myself, maybe I'm just going at it so biased because like by the time that was actually on when we watched it live,
yeah.
It was like felt like 5:30 in the morning, and I was spent.
We were both just done, weren't we? Like,
that's it.
Especially as we were like, we've got to record like a review straight after this shit.
Yeah, so like I don't know if it was like I'm half tempted to sort of go back and sort of give it another try and see whether it was actually a good match.
Would be interesting. I will say that. Regardless of that, though, I mean, the placement of the match, even if it is a good match, it still fucks up the general thought of the show because it just went on too long. Fans were burnt out anyway at that point, and they don't like Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns is winning. But I get what you mean. I've wondered that a little bit myself, but I've never actually got round to watching it. But still,
there's other things on that are more important, like Takeover.
Like Takeover. Cena name drops all the companies AJ has dominated in, apart from TNA, of course. Dixie's Tears, again, they please me. I put them into my tea every morning. It's a rare brand, but when Cena says stuff like this and doesn't reference TNA, funny enough, there just seems to be more of a supply.
All of a sudden, it's like, I'm having tea all week.
Yeah, exactly. But I have to give you some of the Dixie Tear drink, I'm calling it. It's lovely. It's pretty beautiful stuff. Yeah.
It's all natural.
It tastes like broken dreams.
The best sort.
The best sort of dreams, yes. He tells Michael Cole to leave the ring before the fireworks go off. Styles comes on out. He basically says everything that he said the week before about I'll run circles around you and a lot of the same sort of things. So what they're doing here with this whole thing is that there's two contracts. One that is a straight-up singles match that is just between them, no other tangibles. And the other one allows the club to be at ringside. And Cena says, well, you can sign this one with the club, and I'll definitely lose, but no one will think of you as like a real challenger or whatever. I'm like, John, we've seen you run through 7 guys solo when you face the Nexus. It's not completely out of our realm of possibility to think
let's not forget this now.
Yeah, this isn't a startling revelation that it doesn't exactly hold water to me. You know, we've seen you gone against the odds and beat them.
Simply enough, John Cena fucks factions.
Yeah, he does. Like apparently Enzo fucked Francesca. So there is that.
Oh, I missed talking about that.
Yeah, I kind of went a bit overboard with that, Matt. I'm a bit afraid.
You didn't like it, did you?
No, maybe I liked it too much. That was the problem.
To be fair, I loved it. Woods has the greatest reaction.
I kind of reenacted it, though.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
So, strange. Might have won a few subscribers. Might have lost a few. You know, what as a phase comes to pass, new avenues.
To be fair, the only thing I love the most about that whole segment is Cass is going on about like having, what was it, like your mum's massage like toy or whatever the hell it was. It's like, oh, that's so not PG.
I was talking about the fact they seem to be the only group capable of dick jokes, so they're calling the the fucking unicorn horns. Like it's
He's
just
like,
a little bit
"Dude,
phallic.
you have a dildo stuck to your forehead.
Yeah.
Long and short of it.
So here's the thing. Like they build this up. Styles is like they end up going backwards and forwards. I enjoyed it. I thought it was okay. I'm like all of this though is over Styles accepting the match without the club. I'm like, he couldn't beat Roman Reigns with the club. So it's a little bit anticlimactic here.
Yeah.
I do like the build-up, though. I do like the build-up with Cena and Styles because it feels like a big match without a stipulation, which is hard to do with a cynic like myself. I'm always like, well, there's nothing that comes off from this match, whoever wins it. I'm still excited for the match.
This is probably the one match I'm most looking forward to.
Yeah. I will say, though, that if Styles loses this match, man, it comes off very damning because Cena's saying, well, you'll just be like every other indie dude that feels entitled but just couldn't beat me and stuff like this. I'm like, if Styles does lose, it's going to come off on him very badly. It's going to be like, oh, well, yeah, okay. So, but still, we'll come
like
to that.
Every other guy who's been in the company who's gone through the indies are like, well, we're fucked.
Yeah. Remember, guys like you bury guys like me, right? So there we are. Del Rio and Owens versus the Lucha Dragons. Owens and Del Rio arguing all the way through this match. Right at the beginning, Del Rio illegally tags in Owens, like right on the side of like the apron. And I'm like, the referee's watching them. What is the fucking point of having a turnbuckle string at all?
Yeah.
So there we are. Yes, I do point these little things out, but I'm like, consistency, guys. Come on. It's not hard. After constantly butting heads, Del Rio and Owens kind of scramble into this match and save themselves, including throwing Kalisto from a dive into the barricade, which looks quite dirty. Owens hits the pop-up powerbomb and Sin Cara gets the win. I'm like, this established tag team with tag team championships under their belts in NXT couldn't beat two guys who, Matt, let's be honest, couldn't be further from the same page.
That's the one thing they were also trying to push the entire. It's like, oh, these two guys who like are, like you said, like a fully functioning team who have been champions, who have been, oh God, how long's Lucha Dragons been going for? Year and a half?
Must be. Maybe even more
than that, yeah. All of a sudden, let's just chuck these two guys together who spent most of this match just pissing and moaning at each other.
Yeah, it wasn't one of those things where like, they could put it aside for 5 minutes to get the win. They literally were pissing and moaning at each other as the victory happened. So
yeah.
It came off.
It's like, not only did you lose, you lost to some pissy bitches.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. So, not looking good for the Lucha Dragons, shall we say. Kalisto, he's had one of the most useless title runs in history with that US title, and it's not gone well for him afterwards. But there we are. We see a video, Matt, of The Miz on the set of the Marine 5. Do you know what came over me when I watched this, though, Matt?
Nausea?
A little bit of that, but there's more of a specific reason. The fact that there's been a Marine series that's been able to get 5 movies, but we only get one Dread movie with Carl Urban.
That's very true.
There's something very wrong with that.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. I'm really confused by how he's the Marine, yet he was wearing a like an EMT shirt.
I don't know. I don't care nearly as much to watch the movie to find out. And I was one of those few people who said, actually, I did think the third one was too bad. It wasn't good.
Third one?
Yeah, the first one that he was in. Who was it? Obviously, Cena was in the first one. Who was in the second Marine? Was it Orton?
No.
Or Anderson?
I've already forgotten his name.
Ted DiBiase?
That's him.
It was him. All right, there you go.
Anderson did that horrible behind enemy lines.
Columbia. Yeah. Where the one that you reviewed it and said it just looked like the entire thing had been filled out of a shed in a wood somewhere, and that was the only thing that they did.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, that was all of the 15 minutes of it I watched.
Yeah. And the only 15 minutes of it that you will ever watch.
That's it.
You ain't going back to that shit.
It's like that old comedy thing. It's like, I can't stand no more.
We see Owens freaking out to Stephanie McMahon. Shane also approved Sami Zayn being on commentary for the main event. She's like, well, I can put you on commentary. Dario isn't happy with that. So she makes him, she says there's enough commentators. And I'm like, yes, Stephanie, 5 commentators might be just a little bit too much.
Yeah. But I can make you guest time to fuck off.
And Cesaro was guest ring announcer. I'm like, we're a long way from JR and King doing it on their own and acing it. We're even further away from that now, considering what King did this week. But that's awkward. A bit awkward.
We'll leave that one.
Yeah, we'll leave that. Shane and Steph are butting heads. I thought that this whole thing of Stephanie having a sinister plot that Steph was teasing, and now it just seems to be non-existent. So I'm like, okay. Kane shows up and says that he's told that SmackDown needs more stability than a demented, demonic being can give. I'm sure that that letter from Undertaker maybe just needed a little bit more in it.
It's just so awful. It's like, here's my cover letter. It's like, no.
Yeah. Shane and Steph are just butting heads still. They want to run SmackDown and blah, 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 blah. You know how it's
I like how they seem to be arguing more about who's going to run SmackDown rather than who's going to run Raw.
Yeah, they're both like, oh, well, we'll both run Raw, but one of us will run SmackDown on the side. I'm like, okay. I get the feeling that it's going to be more along the lines that someone extra will take control of SmackDown and Steph and Shane will stay on Raw. Yeah. I don't think it's going to end up with one of them leaving. So
holla, holla, player.
I don't think it's going to be him.
It should be.
He's one of those guys that I think the fact that he's already made an appearance means that he's not going to be.
He should be.
I know, Matt. I know. Player. We need a player in charge to deal with all of the, all of the other players, But still. That's right. We're still marking out over Teddy Long, and he wasn't even on Raw this week. Don't like it? Deal with it. Deal with it.
If you don't like it, we know how to settle this. With a one-on-one match with the Undertaker. And a tag team match.
Oh, dear. All right, then. Ambrose versus Jericho. So all the other Money in the Bank guys doing something here. I'm like, it looks like with like 2 guest announcers, you've got Del Rio ringing the bell, you've got Cesaro doing the announcing. I'm like, it kind of looks to me as if WWE are having money problems or forcing their talent to do double duty. That's how it looks to me just for a moment.
It's almost like a terrible flashback. Do you remember when everyone voted no confidence on Triple H?
Yeah. And then you suddenly had like CM Punk taking Triple H's jacket and doing commentary.
Run commentary.
Yeah. For 1 week only, the wrestling talent is to set up the ring, and we put the backstage workers toward. That's what I'd say. So where you've got all the wrestling guys doing, putting up the ring, doing all the workings and the lights, and we set 2 of the production workers out there to go wrestle each other. Sure.
Yeah, that could work.
Why not? Opposite day. Why not? So, sure. We go, and on opposite day, we'll send Vince to go run TNA for a week. Brilliant. Oh, no, that means Dixie has to run WWE. No, we're not doing that. We know she'll never pay the production workers on time, so.
So the worst part is I can only just imagine that she's just like handcuff herself to the door. It's like, I'm not leaving. Not leaving.
I've seen what it's like on the other side.
I'm a successful businesswoman.
Sure you are, Dixie. Sure you are. Some TNA fans must fucking hate us. They really do, but... Ambrose doesn't take to Owens' commentary, rips off his headset. Then I thought Chaos was going to blow up a lot sooner than it did. It seemed like everyone simmered down. They had a decent match here. Ambrose hitting the dirty deeds, and then the brawl began. You knew it was going to happen. Just waiting for it. Jericho eventually unhooking the briefcase because why not? I don't know why.
Because that's how you win it.
Sure, but he didn't win it there.
He did.
He didn't. No, he hasn't won Money in the Bank.
I know.
So I'm like, why do it?
To be fair, they're listening to us.
What do you mean?
I said that last week.
About what?
Like, I was like, I thought Ambrose was going to just take the briefcase,
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, it wasn't Ambrose, though.
but someone did it.
Yeah.
They listened to me.
Yeah, you see, the writers are listening, Matt. They're in your head. They've plugged your phone. Yeah. See, that was the problem with Cody Rhodes. He wasn't talking to you. Yeah.
Oh, no.
I know where you were before you came here. You were talking to them, weren't you?
No.
I know the truth. I'm on to you, you sneaky son of a bitch. Yeah. All in all, though, Matt, I thought this show was okay. I thought it dropped off towards the end. I could see why that third hour got the ratings it did. It didn't really give much worth sticking around for. But I think overall, it was worth a watch. Worth a single watch. There's enough there, I think, to warrant your attention, but nothing more and nothing less on that front. What's your rating for this week on Raw? Is it a skip it, though, Matt? Are you going to give it a skip it?
You know what? I probably would.
Really? Wow. Okay.
Right, what would you watch it for?
I thought
the Cena Styles promo I thought was pretty good.
Yeah, I thought the tag team stuff was pretty decent.
Sami Zayn and
Cesaro.
Oh yeah, the opening match was pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, so you could watch the first half hour, like 15 minutes in the middle, and about 10 minutes. So, you could probably watch about an hour of this week's Raw, and then just see the rest of it.
Maybe my review is along the lines of that. Normally we don't have that, so I'm like, it's better than what we normally get.
Yeah, I suppose.
It depends on how much you're willing to stomach for some of the good bits, but that's like it for every Raw. But is that? I think that's the question.
Yeah, maybe once.
Is that enough for you to go through it, or is it like?
I'd go just for a once.
Well, for a once. So, but we're on the same there. For people that don't know our scale, we only have 4 markers, and we don't like doing numbers because our marks are for whether or not you want to use your time to watch the show. So that's why all of them are referencing it. So 1 is avoid at all costs. 2nd is skip it. 3rd is worth a single watch. And the top one is watch over and over and over again. So that's our review scale for anyone that's new to the show. All right, Matt, we've got Money in the Bank predictions, and then we're gone.
Okay.
Thank God you actually came in when you did, Matt, because I started getting overheating and I had to drink loads, and I was like, I'm going to pass out. Fucking hell.
Well, plus it'd be kind of difficult. Well, I guess you'll just have to make your own predictions and leave it at that.
What do you mean?
Just in time for the predictions. Like, good. Otherwise, you'd be on your own. It's like, I predict. It's like, there's no dispute here.
Yeah. I am infallible and totally correct all the time. That being said, the last pay-per-view, I think I got all of my predictions right, so just want to add that out there.
Throw it out there.
Money in the Bank predictions. So these are, from what I saw on the wiki, the Apollo Crews and Baron Corbin did make it onto the main card, and 2 other matches went onto the pre-show. But we don't know that until it happens. Of course, that's all subject to change. We don't know. So here are the 2 pre-show matches that apparently have been put onto the wiki. Lucha Dragons versus the Dudley Boys. I don't know why that's on the pre-show.
Say, why?
Yeah, no idea. I'm going to go with
one thing actually. Just before we get into this,
Mm-hmm.
there was one point that I noticed. Like, hey guys, let's catch on SmackDown because guess what? And I'm like, ugh. When they were like, there's a big match on SmackDown, I was like, and it's going to be all the contenders of the Money in the Bank, isn't it? 6-man tag team. Fucking go.
You called it before it happened, Matt. You called it before it happened.
It's just ridiculous. Like, great originality.
Well, hopefully I'll get better for when you watch SmackDown, for when we start doing
when there's only Yeah.
Anyway, Matt, what do you think? Lucha Dragons, Dudley Boys, who's getting this win?
Can I actually give an opinion? Because I don't really care.
I don't care, but I think Dudley's are going to win anyway.
Yeah.
Literally not going to talk anything else about it because it makes no sense. Golden Truth versus Breezango.
I reckon Golden Truth's probably going to win it.
Don't these matches have pre-show written all the fuck over them?
I reckon Christ. Golden Truth.
Yeah, I'm going Golden Truth. Because Breezango already got their win, didn't they? So they might do this as, Golden Truth actually got their shit together and won, and I don't care. And I'd rather stab my eyes out than watch. But still. Then we get to the actual main roster, main matches on the card. Apollo Crews versus Sheamus. I think you've got to have Crews win this one.
If they don't, they're fucking idiots.
Yeah. It makes no sense for Sheamus to win because it would just stamp that the new era can't beat the old, boring one. So,
yeah,
for me, you have to have Crews win that match. Ziggler versus Corbin. The bigger question here is why is Corbin still wrestling Ziggler? But still.
Corbin, just end it once and for all.
Corbin wins and just fucking give these guys anything else. I would take anything at this point for them to do. Anything. Rusev versus Titus O'Neil for the United States Championship. What do you think there, Matt?
Rusev.
Yeah, I'll go on Rusev as well.
I reckon they're going on the run now where it's let's keep him sturdy, not keep him sturdy, keep him strong and get him back on a dominant path.
Yeah, and stability, is the key thing there for him, and start building him up again. And I don't think they've got any stock in Titus. I think he's just a guy that they can put him into this.
Especially considering, hey, you know what we're going to do? We're going to suspend you for 60 days, and the moment you come back, there's a title in it for you. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we're asking a big. We're asking to swallow a lot if that would be the case.
If anything, I reckon he's just going to get thrown sort of like Rusev's going to there's an extra 100 if you kick him stiff.
Yeah, really?
Not the fact that Vince is going to be like that, but it's just there's no way in hell it's you're getting a title when you get back.
Nah. It's one of those things as well, Matt. I think this match will be very quick. I think that match will be over 3-4 minutes tops. Yeah. Accolade done. I don't think it's going to last that long. Charlotte and Dana Brooke versus Natalya and Becky Lynch. Here's the thing about this. I thought initially, well, fair enough, champion wins, whatever, because they've been teasing dissension. But they need to, I'm fairly sure now that Sasha and Charlotte is their long-term plan for SummerSlam, and they've still got Battleground until then. So I see Becky Lynch pinning Charlotte here to set up a singles match at Battleground to save time for that SummerSlam.
Yeah.
So that's where I see it going. I go with Becky Lynch to get the pinfall victory on Charlotte. What about you?
Yeah,
Oh, he's thinking.
That or Dana's going to walk out.
I don't think she's going to.
But if she does, then she has no purpose. So I don't care. Yeah, no, I actually quite like your idea.
I just think it gives them something. It gives them a plan, and I think they still need to waste a bit more time until SummerSlam, and that seems to be the idea. And Natalya's already had her title match, so it makes no sense for her to do it. New Day versus The Club versus Enzo and Cass versus the Vaude Villains. Matt, I'm going with this one. I think it's a title change.
But who? Because I agree with you.
Okay, who do you think it's going to?
Well, who do I think or who do I want?
Who do you think? We'll give us both.
Because I can't decide which one I want or think it's going to be more.
Okay. Do explain.
Well, I kind of want a team to win in equal measure.
What does that mean?
Well, I think one would be really good as a storyline front, and I think the other would be because they earned it.
Okay. All right. So go and explain to us.
Enzo and Cass or The Club. Okay. I sure as hell don't want the Vaude Villains getting the belt.
No. I don't think there's any point in them getting the titles. Here's the thing. So I think it's too soon for Enzo and Cass to get those titles. And what I mean by that is I think they've got plenty of building up to do on their own to establish them on the main roster. So I'm actually going with The Club. I think The Club are going to win the titles here. And they're going to be the heel team that a face team. At the end of the day, out of the two heel teams to pick to win this championship, who are you going to go with? I'm going to go with The Club. I'm not going with the Vaude Villains. And I do think a heel team is going to win.
Yeah.
That's my bottom line with it. But you're not as convinced.
I just don't want the Vaude Villains. They can go now.
Are you that turned off them?
I just really don't care. I used to like the Vaudevillains. I don't now.
Oh,
I don't know what it is. I just don't.
oh, poor villains. They're just fans of a bygone era, you know.
No.
No, so they're not doing it for you, no.
No.
Oh,
Club.
you go with Club, same as me. All right. Yeah, I think Club. I've been thinking that for a while. I think their main thing is to try and get the championships on them. And I think, you know what? I think New Day have had one hell of a run with those belts, but now you're starting to get some teams come up that I think can start easing some of the strain on them, you know?
But then it's tough, though, because they have been recently going on about, they're getting so close to beating, was it Brian Kendrick and Paul London?
Yeah, but
their title, like their
the WWE title
reign.
Yeah. I just don't think that's nearly as important to them as it was, let's say, for Nikki Bella to take the title, the record away from AJ Lee. I just don't think that is as important to them. But I think they're going to look at this and I think they're going to say, okay, a title change here it would explode the division wide open when it's been quite shut for a while. I think that's, to be quite honest here. And if they're thinking of bringing the American Alpha up, which is what I'm thinking, then they need a heel team to eventually go against down the line. When you'll have a club American Alpha match, I fucking would. I think that would be brilliant, but there we are. AJ Styles versus John Cena. What do you think here? This is an interesting one. I actually think the result of this match is a bit more interesting than the actual title match, personally, but there.
Do you know the one thing I'm really worried about?
Go on.
Someone getting in the way.
What do you mean?
Well, we haven't seen Orton in a while.
Okay. Do you think maybe he screws Cena out or something, or Styles?
I don't know. I'm just thinking out. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. It's a tough one. It's definitely a tough one. I can't. The worst part is, I feel like, you know that Simpsons episode where Marge is like, can't we just put it down, like, place a bet that all the horses are going to have a good time?
You want to do that?
Like, it's going to be a good match.
Yeah.
I don't even have to worry about it. There's going to be a good match there.
You gotta give me a prediction, Matt. I know you want. We're all gonna have a great time in this match. It's gonna be awesome, but you gotta give me a prediction. With me, when it comes to Cena,
Styles.
you go with Styles to win.
Yeah.
Here's the thing with me, Matt. I have grown and understood that you never, ever bet against John Cena unless all of the chips seem to be... unless it very much seems like either he's injured and he's going out or he's making up a loss for a rubber match. So, yeah, he could lose this and then go and win the next two, which is quite possible. But he's only just returned, so I'm going with Cena. I think Cena's going to win. I don't want him to. I think Styles should win, but I think Cena's going to win here.
Yeah.
So, there we are. But I'm with you, Matt. I think this is the show stealer match. This is the one that, if they put it off to the capability that they can, this could be match of the year quality, if they can do it. You're talking about two very, very good wrestlers right here, so we can only hope. Here's an even more interesting prospect, though. Owens, Cesaro, Del Rio, Zayn, Ambrose, and Jericho in the Money in the Bank ladder match. Who is walking out with that briefcase? What is your prediction?
Ambrose.
Are you saying that because you believe he's going to cash in?
Not the fact that I believe he'll cash in, but I'm seeing a Shield triple threat.
What, at SummerSlam?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, the thing is with that, if that's the case, then Ambrose has got to cash in against the champion. And I don't think they want him to be champion for very long, if that's the case. I think they want Reigns to keep that belt until SummerSlam at the very, very least. I don't think they want anyone taking the title off him. They want to establish him. So that's why I'm not going Jericho. I'm going with Owens to win it, because I think that he is a future heel. He's a future heel world champion who could do great work with not even with the title, but with the briefcase going forward, right? I know the last 2 Money in the Bank winners have been heels, so maybe it's time to shake it up and give it to an Ambrose. But I'm going with Kevin Owens. I just don't think they're going to go for Ambrose. I still think they've got an idea of doing a Shield triple threat, but I don't think this is the way they're going to do it. So I could be wrong with that here. Maybe it's just me being cynical, because I agree with you, Matt. The Ambrose winning and then going along those lines, setting up that match at SummerSlam through that cash-in, seems like it's like perfect. Seems like it makes the most sense. But I'm not sure that's what they have planned. But we'll see. But you're going with Ambrose then?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go with Owens. I will say, though, that out of all of them, I think Ambrose is the only other person I think will win this apart from Owens. I don't think the rest of them have got a shot, personally. Then they'll go and dick all of us by making Del Rio win it and piss us all off. So, you know. Reigns versus Rollins. What do you think about this one? I think this one's very easy.
It's going to be Reigns.
It's going to be Reigns. WWE, in my opinion, Matt, they're dead set on making a star out of Reigns through hell or high water. Reigns is going to beat a fuck ton of talent this year. He's going to beat a lot of people.
I don't want it.
I do expect one thing, though, Matt. I think this match will be pretty good. I expect Rollins to add his name to the list to the guys who have made Reigns look like $1 million. I'm talking about Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles.
Yeah.
I reckon this will be one of Reigns' better matches, but I don't think Rollins is winning. I think he's losing. I think it'll be clean as well. I think he'll beat Rollins clean. So, there we are. Or they do what you were talking about there, Matt, where Rollins does manage to beat Reigns by cheating, but then Ambrose cashes in on Rollins, setting up that triple threat.
Yeah.
But they've still got Battleground to get through before then, so I'm not sure how that goes. So, yeah, I'm going with Reigns. Are you going with Reigns as well? I'm guessing so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they're just dead set, Matt. I think they want him to have that long established run. Yeah. But I do think that Money in the Bank has a good chance of being the best pay-per-view that WWE pulled out this year, and may have a good chance of rivaling NXT's recent foray. It's going to be hard for them to do it, but they've got a chance. I think this is a very good card, personally. That last 4 matches, to me, I've got something very interesting there. You've got the tag team match, the Styles, Cena, Money in the Bank, and the title match. I think there's something good to see in those last 4 matches. In the rest of them, maybe, I'll concede that the rest of them maybe not so good. You're looking at Ziggler, Corbin, Cruz, Sheamus, Rusev, Titus O'Neil. They're not exactly matches that get you enthused. But I do expect those last 4 matches to get a fuck ton of time, and so they should. So, good stuff there. All right then, Matt. You weren't around till earlier on, so you can do the plugs right now. It's just not the same without you not plugging the Twitter. Let's do it. So that's the end of the show, guys. If you'd like to interact with us, the main way of doing so is Facebook, which is facebook.com/Let's Talk Wrestling Podcast. You can also send us a tweet on the fabled Twitter handle.
At Talk Wrestle Pod.
Did you enjoy that, Matt? Did you enjoy that?
It's good.
Good stuff. You can also send us any audio questions or private emails to Let's Talk Wrestling Podcast @gmail.com. All of that is in the in the description below and on the graphics as well. If you want to send us any questions, you can do so via those methods or in the comment section. Apart from that, we hope you have a great week, and Matt will try and get you around for a full round next week. You know,
hoping so.
Although work seems to like you a lot. They don't want to let you go.
Off all of next week.
We'll have to get it done then. We'll have to do it good. Are you off on the usual day that we would record this, on the Saturday?
Yes.
Yes. Maybe, Matt. I might be thinking of maybe doing that. A little bit of live action going on. Don't know. Just adding that out there, maybe.
Maybe.
Might do that.
Discuss.
If you guys want it enough, let us know. And of course, if you guys, I hope you guys have a great week. And Matt, Lucha Underground's wrapping up. I've only got like 4 more episodes of the Lucha review to do.
Is it only four episodes left?
Yeah.
Man, I'm so behind on Lucha.
So, apart from that, hope you guys have a great week. We'll catch you soon. And thanks a lot for watching.
We'll catch you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.